So this is the second video, well, this is technically the third video I'm uploading today because I uploaded the Batman Odyssey review, quote unquote. Before you guys ask me what the hell happened with the Batman Odyssey review, I just want to tell you that the book is a complete piece of shit, that it's the worst Batman comic book ever made, that you should not buy it. It makes absolutely no sense. It's quite possibly the worst interpretation of Batman I've ever seen in my life. It's single-handedly worse than Batman and Robin, and not in the way that it's so bad it becomes good. It makes absolutely no sense on any level whatsoever, and no one should ever spend any money or waste any of their time reading it. So yeah, there's my full review. Now on to the rest of the video. So, Star Wars Episode 7. Now, a lot of people were expecting that Disney would actually sort of release some real, like footage or something, or maybe to give us some plot details about Star Wars Episode 7 at this year's D23. Now, D23 is basically a biannual event, or so I've heard. It's a biannual event where all of Disney's properties are brought in, and they basically showcase all of their stuff. It's basically Comic-Con if it was all just Disney. And they show off all of their stuff. They show all of their, like, animated films, their sort of live-action fairy tale movies that they're doing now. Their Marvel properties were also showcased there. And this is the reason why Disney really doesn't go all out during Comic-Con and these other things, because they want to save for D23, except their Marvel stuff, because Marvel is, comics, and they have to show a lot of their Marvel stuff at Comic-Con. So at D23, the guy in charge of, I don't know what his position is, I don't even know what the hell his name is, but he basically came onto the stage and said that they had absolutely no information to release to the public today about Star Wars Episode 7, and he was apparently booed off the stage. Now, I'm going to give you guys my first impressions or thoughts like I did for my upcoming Guardians of the Galaxy video that's going to be uploaded maybe before or after this one. I'm not sure. I really have to say that I'm not excited for Episode 7 for a couple of different reasons. Episode 7 feels kind of pointless. Like, it feels like the story George Lucas wanted to tell has been told throughout the 6 films, and now this feels like kind of pointless. George Lucas kept saying there's never going to be an Episode 7. There's never going to be a sequel trilogy. It's these 6 films, and this is it. And I've kind of accepted that. Like, I genuinely accepted, there's never going to be another Star Wars film. And maybe that is a good thing. Like, leave these films as they are. It tells one complete story. Now, the story itself may not be told well throughout the whole, as a whole. Like, not all the films are, like, good. Episode 2. Episode 2. But despite that, despite my complete and utter disdain for Episode 2, which I think is one of the worst films ever made, like, of all time, I actually really like the prequel trilogy. I really like Episode 1, and Star Wars Episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars movie. Is it the best one in quality? I don't think so, but I think it's easily my personal favorite. So, all in all, I have maybe, I don't think the original movies were 50-50 like a lot of people. I think the ratio is like 70-80 to 20, 20 being Episode 2, which is a piece of shit. But back to the topic of the video. So, I kind of accepted the fact that he told the story he wanted to tell. People will debate until the end of time whether or not all these movies were good or not. That's for the fanboys to decide. I've grown tired of getting myself into these discussions, but I sort of accepted the fact that Episode 7, 8, and 9 were never going to happen. And then they announced that there was going to be a new trilogy, and that was going to be helmed by J.J. Abrams. And I actually really support J.J. Abrams. I really liked his Star Trek film. I want to see Super 8, but I've never really... Like, it's one of those movies I always keep saying I'm going to watch, but I just never find the incentive to, and maybe one day I will get the incentive to watch it. Who knows? But I really like Star Trek 2009. I did not see Into Darkness because of financial and school reasons, so I missed out on that one. I'm going to get it when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. But anyway, I think that J.J. Abrams is a great pick for Star Wars because apparently he is a Star Wars fan. But this kind of becomes an issue for me later on, and I'm going to explain that. But my biggest problem with the new trilogy is that they're basically going to destroy the expanded universe. Now, for those of you who don't know, the expanded universe is everything besides the films. It's the novelizations, it's the TV shows, it's the comic books, it's the novels, and all of these separate entities of Star Wars, they basically tell new stories. They explain the backstory of Star Wars, like how the Jedi began, the whole history of the galaxy, all the wars between the Jedi and the Sith that led up to the prequel trilogy, what happened in between films and stuff, and it basically does what it does. It expands on the universe, and there has been a lot of post Return of the Jedi continuity. You know, it's followed Luke until his like 60s and 70s and stuff, and the original members, you know, the original cast from the original films are old people now, and they have had children, and their children have had children, and it's kind of grown past the films. The expanded universe has easily become bigger than the films. The films are basically just footnotes. They're just small occurrences in this bigger universe. And I really don't like that the expanded universe is pretty much going to be destroyed, because there's no way in hell they're going to make a script that's going to adhere to the expanded universe and where they're going to require the general audience to go read all of these post-Return of the Jedi novels and stuff. So the post-Return of the Jedi expanded universe is pretty much gone. Like, it's dead. It's dead and gone, and it'll probably just all be retconned out of continuity, which is a big shame because a lot of good stories were told in the post-Return of the Jedi era. That's my biggest problem. My second problem is that when Disney purchased the Star Wars film rights, they basically got the rights to the They basically stated that Dark Horse, who have been making some truly fantastic Star Wars Expanded Universe comic books for the past 20 years, their whole comic book license was going to last until 2015. Now, I pray to God Disney does not take that away from them. I pray to God that Disney actually has the common sense to let Dark Horse keep their Star Wars comic book license, because I would really, really hate it if they took it away and gave it to Marvel, because Marvel is busy doing its own thing. Like, Marvel have enough comic books of their own that they need to worry about without having to add Star Wars to the mix. And I swear to shit, if they make Star Wars an alternate universe of the Marvel multiverse, I'm gonna no. Don't do that. Please, God, don't do that. That would be so fucking stupid. No. That would destroy Star Wars, in my opinion. Just don't do that. Let Dark Horse write the comic books, please. Please, pretty please, Disney. Please don't be dickheads for once. Okay. But now onto the film itself. Actually, no, I'm not actually done about the politics surrounding the new trilogy. Another thing I really don't like is that they're going to be having standalone movies in between the main ones. Like, they said that every 2 years we're going to release numbered sequels. So that means every other year we're going to have main movies. And then they said they're going to have standalone films which are going to, like, expand on the universe. So that means that they could potentially fuck up the entire EU. But I will not list this as a complete negative, because if they actually are smart, they actually could use these films as a way to explain how things are in the main films, like how did Han Solo get this way, and they could do some great adaptations of EU source material and make it into good films. So I'm not writing this off as a completely negative point, and it could actually turn out to be really cool. Like, I would kill to see a Darth Bane movie. That would be awesome as hell. Or a Darth Plagueis movie, even though I'm not a fan of the book. I think it would be such a fascinating film. And so yeah, because of those potential prospects, I'm not gonna write off this standalone thing completely negatively. But again, do we really need like a Star Wars movie or two every single year? That just seems like overkill to me. And they're gonna start this immediately. Like, when episode 7 starts filming, they're already going to announce a standalone movie that's going to come after that, and then they're going to figure out what they're going to do with the with the next films after that. And like, there are rumors that J.J. Abrams is gonna become kind of the Kevin Feige of the Star Wars, film property. He's gonna oversee everything, make sure the continuity stays intact and stuff. And they could actually make the Star Wars universe a whole universe on film. So that's why I think the potential good of these standalone films outweighs the potential bad of the standalone films, but it's still something that we have to be cautious about. Now, as for episode 7, I really gotta say I'm not excited for this. Even with J.J. Abrams attached to the project, I think this is going to be Superman Returns all over again, because everybody is like, make this like the old movies. Like, we want the old actors back, make this like the old movies, and I think that is a mistake. One of the great things about the prequel trilogy was that they were their own thing. They were still clearly in the same universe, but at a different time period. People didn't act the same way they did in the prequels as they did in the original trilogy, and that's a reason for that, because they spent 20 years under tyranny of a sociopathic Sith overlord and his homicidal armored Sith apprentice known as Darth Vader. Pretty much the Duke A, number one of badasses in Star Wars, of the evil badasses anyway. And it made sense that things would really, really change after these 20 years. And I really like that the prequels had their own identity. They didn't try to emulate the old films. They had their own identity, and I thought that was great. And I honestly think that all of these people who are just saying, make it like the old movies, make it like the old movies, they're basically shooting this movie in the foot. Because homages to the original are always good, but homages are almost never better than what they are homaging. And Superman Returns' biggest problem was that it was just a blatant copy of the old Richard Donner movies from the 70s and 80s, and I think that's going to happen with this film too. I honestly think that if J.J. Abrams does not control his inner fanboy, like Bryan Singer wasn't able to control his inner fanboy for the Donner movies, this is going to be another Superman Returns-like situation. And I think it's going to receive Superman Returns-like backlash, because if they make it too much like the old movies, it's going to suffer the same problems as Superman Returns. Everyone's going to be kind of okay with it at first, but then when the movie gets released on DVD, everyone's going to start complaining about how it's a big homage. Like, there is nothing original or unique or special here. Sure, the special effects seem better, but it just doesn't have anything original. It doesn't have an identity of its own, and that was a big problem with the last Indiana Jones movie. It basically, felt like, another Indiana Jones movie, and it didn't really have an identity of its own. And I really think this could potentially be another catastrophic Superman Returns-like situation, and it could pretty much spiral things out of control, because we know this movie is going to make money. Even if this movie is the biggest piece of shit ever made by mankind, it's going to make money, because episode 2 made money, and that is the worst piece of shit ever made, ever, in film, ever, like, done. You cannot debate that with me. And that made like $700-800 million at the box office. So people are going to see these films regardless of how bad they are. Like, they would have to make like 5 or 6 consecutively horrible Star Wars movies until those films started to suffer at the box office, because box office goers are kind of idiots. Yeah, what, you don't believe me? They are idiots. They constantly see horrible movies that shouldn't get any support. Like, look at Grown Ups 2. For fuck's sake, Grown Ups 2 grossed more at the domestic box office when it opened than Pacific Rim. What the hell is wrong with this world? Grown Ups 2? Really? And that's just one recent example of why moviegoers are complete idiots, but now I'm kind of going off on a different rant. My point is that even if these films are complete pieces of shit, people are going to watch them, because Star Wars is a household name. Star Wars is a brand. It is on the level of Coca-Cola, of McDonald's. Star Wars, almost every single person on the planet, except James. Yeah, James, Ronin Reviewer, he's never seen Star Wars because he has no soul. That's why. He's never seen Star Wars, but pretty much everyone else on the planet has seen Star Wars, and it's a brand. It's something everyone recognizes, and people are going to go see this film despite that. But my big fear is that everyone is just saying make it like the old movies, and I think that's a mistake. I think you can do it. I think you can find a compromise, because I think a lot of people's problem with the prequels is that they were so different from the original films. I think you can find a good middle ground where you can still do your own things, and you can still do like these cool little nods to the original films, and you can still stay faithful to them. But I think that if J.J. Abrams allows all of this outside shit to interfere with him, and if he takes all the backlash the prequels did, where everyone just said it's too different from the original movies, please make it more, I think it could go to the other extreme where he makes it too much like the old movies, and then you just have a big homage. Like, you don't have a film, you just have a 2-hour tribute to the old films, starring some new guys and some old guys from the original cast, and that's a big problem. And honest to God, I think this could potentially be another Superman Returns like situation. I think that if J.J. Abrams goes way too much in the other extreme, it's gonna be a complete and utter disaster on the same level as Superman Returns. So yeah, I know I've been really negative with this video, and just wait until you see my Guardians of the Galaxy video, because I'm even more negative there about that film. And I know I've been kind of a negative Nancy this whole day, but I just got to tell you guys, I'm not excited for this film. I think it's another potential disaster, just like Superman Returns. And honestly, I'm more excited for, I don't know, for Skyfall 2, Batman and Superman, the joint movie. I'm honestly more excited for those films than I am for episode 7, and honestly, this thing feels like kind of a cash grab, because the second they announced this film, they basically just stated that it's gonna come out in 2015. Like, an hour after they signed the deal with Lucas, they announced a whole new trilogy was coming out. So yeah, I really, I'm just not excited for it. I think it's another disaster in the making. I hope J.J. Abrams proves me wrong, because if I keep hearing more people bitch about how the newer movies are even shittier than the prequels, more than I already hear everyone shit over the prequels on the internet, I'm gonna shoot myself in the head, because I just can't stand that shit. I just wanna make those people shut up. Just please, would you all shut up? But yeah, those are my thoughts on episode 7 and some of the politics surrounding episode 7. I don't know if you guys agree with me or not, but please, tell me in the comments, because I want to hear what you guys have to say about this thing. Like, what do you think the films are going to be like and stuff, and what do you think about the current situation of Star Wars in film? And yeah, I'll see you later.